الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
آمين. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all of the sisters, and I hope that all of you are doing good, inshallah, as well. And sorry for like apologies for being late today because I was just not at home and I just arrived right now. So moving on to the session, inshallah, because we are already short on time. So as we were discussing the rules and we were revising certain things as well. So yes, yesterday we revised how we are supposed to do work, right? So today, inshallah, we will just revise the heavy as well as light letters. That when we are reciting, there are like letters which are heavy, and then there are letters which are light, and then there are certain letters which are sometimes heavy and they sometimes are light. So for today, we will inshallah discuss the heavy ones and the heavy as well as the light ones, inshallah. So yes, discussing from this part that there are letters that are heavy, and these letters are called mukhaffam letters, and the letters with the tafkhim, and they're also called full mouth letters, right? And you see these letters in front of you. These are 7 in number, which are always heavy whenever they come: kha, sad, dad, ta, dha, gha, and qa. So these 7 letters, they are heavy letters, and you can remember these letters with the abbreviation of khussa ضاغط قيض, right? So this is the abbreviation through which you can remember these 7 letters. And these letters, they are heavy in all of the conditions. Even they have, even if they have fatha on it, or they have a kasra below it, or dhamma, or they have a sakin on it, or you can say that they have, the dhammatain, kasratain, fathatain, whatever comes on them, they are always heavy. And I have written, examples in front of them as well, that if, for example, this kha letter, which is a heavy letter, if this has a fatha, we will say khalidina. So when we articulate these letters, the back part of the tongue is raised to make them sound heavy, right? So we do not, shape our lips round to make them sound heavy, unless and until they have a dhamma. For dhamma, we are supposed to shape our lips round to make them heavy as well. But for all of the other conditions, the heaviness in the letters just comes from raising the back part of the tongue, right? So you just have to remember this thing, and also, khalidina here, akhiri, right? So in all of the states, we feel our mouth is full with air and with voice as well. So that is how they are heavy. Khuliqa, khuliqa, right? And yakhruju. I do not say yakhruju. This is like ya, moving from the light letter of ya to the heavy letter of kha, and saying yakhruju, right? So this is how we make them heavy. So all of the other examples are written below as well, which is like saw the letter, and you can see the examples. Same is the case with la the letter, this ta, and dha, gha, and qaf. And also, when you do not make these letters heavy, at their best, or you can say, when you are not making them heavy as they should be, so otherwise, these sounds, they turn out to be the sounds of the other letters. For example, if you will not, make this kha heavy and also with scratch in this letter, so then this letter might sound like ha letter, right? So you have to differentiate this kha with ha, and because the articulation points are very near. This ha comes from the middle portion of throat, and this kha comes from the upper portion of the throat. right? So you have to make these heavy. The heaviness in the letters is very important, right? So for example, this saw the letter is a heavy one, but this seen letter is a light. So if you will not create a difference, there is a chance that these letter for you these letters might sound the same when you're reciting. Okay, so you have to create a difference, and the only difference in these two letters of seen and sawed is that the sawed is heavy, and we say saw, full mouth letter, right? Saw. And this is sa sound. Sa, saw. I hope that you can hear it, right? For example, this dod, this lo sound, and this the sound. This is a light letter, this is a heavy. Their articulation points are different, but for some people, if they are not trying to make this dod sound heavy, it might turn out to be this the sound of this dal letter, right? So I have written these letters that you have to differentiate at least these letters that are there, written in front of them. You have to make a difference between these two, yeah, like categories of letters. So yes, inshallah, I hope that things make some sense to you, inshallah. So as we have discussed, that there are 7 letters which are like always heavy. So yes, you will have to remember these letters, and that is why I have told you the abbreviation as well. But you see like 3 letters in front of you which are sometimes heavy and they are sometimes light, right? So these are just 3 in number. So if you will remember the first 7 heavy letters, and you remember these 3 letters of alif, lam, and ra, right? So other than that, all of the letters are the light letters, right? So for those letters, you will not have to remember much. So let's discuss these 3 letters for today as well. This alif here, this alif letter here, right? This is sometimes heavy and this is sometimes light as well. So this depends on the letter that comes before aleph letter, right? So I have written it here like in a very summarized way, that this depends on the letter that comes before aleph. If the letter, before aleph is heavy, then we will make the aleph heavy as well. It will automatically become heavy. And if the letter that comes before aleph is a light one, so obviously aleph will be light. So let's see the example here is qala, qala. So here in qala, you see an alif, and before this alif, there is the qaf letter, which is from the 7 letters which are heavy. So you see you can hear the sound of alif here as a, qala, a sound. You can see A and W I have written, the a sound. But when it comes to the light letter before alif, for example, taba, taba. So ta is a light letter, and after that, the sound that you can hear of alif is of a, the a sound. Taba and qala, right? So alif, for alif, it depends on the letter that comes before it. So that is a very simple rule for alif, right? So let's move on to the next letter of lam. For lam, most of the cases, the lam letter is a light one. There is an exception to this lam, which comes in the form of just these 2 words of Allah and Allahumma, right? So for lam letter, you will specifically have to remember these 2 words, because the rule changes only in these 2 cases of Allah word and Allahumma. Other than that, lam is a light one, right? So for example, when this comes many a times in Quran, when we say innal, right? Many times innal. So here, you see nalla. The sound of the lam letter is a very light one. Innal. So yes, as I have mentioned that the lam in most of the cases it is light. So how this will be heavy? Let's see that. Okay, so whenever before the lam letter, there comes a dhamma or a fatha. Dhamma or a fatha, it is heavy, but in only these 2 words. I'm only talking about these 2 words, okay? Before lam letter, whenever there is a dhamma or fatha, we make this lam heavy. But before this lam, if there is a kasra, we keep the lam light. So let's see with example. For example, in Allah's word, if before the lam of Allah, the middle lam here, before that lam, there is a fatha on the previous letter. So we see inna, fatha on noon, and we are joining that with the lam. So we say inna Allahu, nallahu. I am not saying inna Allah. For saying la, I'm not making my mouth empty. I'm not making this heavy, right? So I'm just, I'm sorry. I'm making this heavy here. I'm saying nallahu, law sound. So, I have written this here as well. The sound of it is law here. Law. Why? Because, before the lam of Allah, there was a fatha. If there is a dhamma as well, even in that case we will make the lam heavy and we say rafa'ahu Allahu, rafa'ahu Allahu, right? So again the law sound is here. But if there is a kasra before this lam, we keep this lam of Allah light. We say lillahi, la sound, la. I'm not saying lillah, right? So this is lillahi. So yes, for now you remember that if there's a fatha or dhamma, we make this lam of Allah heavy. If there is a kasra, we keep that light. Same is the case, with this word of Allahumma. Allahumma, right? So in this case as well, if there is a fatha on the previous letter, that is heavy, and we say Subhanaka Allahumma la. Kallahumma. When there is a dhamma, we say وَإِذْ قَالُوا اللَّهُمَّ, right? Lullah, the law sound again. And if there's a kasra, we say qulillah, lahumma, qulillahumma, right? So this la sound here, law, and la sound. Right, so yes, these are the two letters that we have revised for today, which is Aleph, and then we have revised the Lam letter, right? So I hope that this is a bit easy for you, inshallah. Okay, so moving on to the ayahs for today, which are a bit lengthy, and I hope that we will be able to, complete these, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فلما رأوه زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي sorry وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون. Okay, so as you can see that I have not marked anything in today's ayah, and why I have done this is that so you can test yourself in the last two sessions of Mulk, right? So we will just discuss the things orally, and you will have to, stay focused for that. So the first word here is falamma, starting with letter fa, which has a ear in it, right? Fa, ear is removed from our mouth when we say fa letter. Falamma, right? Fa letter is articulated when the tips of our upper teeth they touch the lower lips, right? And ear is removed as well. Fa, falamma. In this word, you see a meme with a tashdid on it, right? So whenever there is meme tashdid or noon tashdid, what do? We do gunna, which is like making a nasal sound and staying for a bit on letter, right? So we say lamma. We stay on the letter as well, right? Falamma. Also, I am, extending or making this sound of ma prolonged for two counts. Why? Because there is an alif that you see after mim tashdid. So we say falamma. The ma sound here is for two counts. Ma. Falamma ra'awhu. Ra'awhu. So raw letter here, raw letter will be heavy here because raw has a fatha on it. Raw, raw, right? Full, like heavy means that it is a full mouth letter and back part of the tongue is raised. Ra'awhu, ra'awhu. Okay, so ha letter at the end, you have to, make this prominent. This comes from the portion of the throat near to the chest and you say who. Ra'awhu. فلما رأوه زلفة This is a the letter, right? So this is a heavy letter and this has this buzzing sound, this vibration in this letter. Zoo, zoo. Your teeth, or upper and lower teeth, they come closer together to make this, buzzing sound as well. So zoo, zulfatan, zulfatan. Okay, so the lam letter, we're joining this with the previous one because it has a sakin on it. And after lam, again fatha letter with air in this, fa, zulfatan. At the end, ta letter, which is a light letter, tip of the tongue. We touch this with the back of our upper teeth, and we say ta, ta, empty mouth letter. Okay, ta, zulfatan. Okay, so we see a tanween on letter ta. So let's see which is the next letter after in this tanween, right? So we see a letter seen here, which is the rule of ikhfa here. Ikhfa of nun sakin and tanween. And ikhfa means that we will hide the sound of this nun sakin hidden in this tanween. Why? Because there is a seen letter which is from those 15 letters on which we apply this rule. So we say Fatan, Zulfatan. I'm not saying tan. Why? Because I'm hiding the sound of noon sakin hidden in this tanween, and I'm saying tan. And there's automatically a nasal sound when I'm hiding as well. Zulfatan si'at. Okay. So seen letter here, this again letter has air in this, removed from our mouth, and also there is this whistle sound in this letter as well. C, C, right? C. Also, I'm again extending the sound or, stretching the sound here. Why? Because we see a ya madda here. Mad means stretching. Ya madda means that there is a ya sakin, and before that, on the previous letter, there is a kasra. So we, make a mud there. We stretch our voice. Okay, so we say see. But also there is a yamada, but on top of that yamada, there is a mud again, which is a mud which is a long than the yamada, waw mada, alif mada. So for this mud, we see the next letter of hamza. If the hamza it comes in the same word, we prolong that mud for 4 counts. If that hamza is in the next word, so it is our choice. Either we want to stretch that for 2 counts or for 4 counts. So here in this word, this madda and the next hamza that is after it, they are in the same word of at. So here it is compulsory to stretch this mud for 4 counts. So we say at. Right, you can count this mud like 1 2 3 4 on your fingers. When you're stretching the sound, you can count it on your fingers and say see at. Okay, zulfatan si'at wujuhul ladhina kafaru. Waw letter shaping your lips round, wujuhul ladhina. Jim letter, and I'm extending the sound of ju here for 2 counts again because of vaw madda here. Wujuhu, wujuhu, right? So again at the end there is this same ha of ra'awhu, the ha that comes from the portion of the throat that is near to the chest. Hu, wujuhu, wujuhul ladhina. Hullavina. Okay, so interestingly, there is lam letter here as well. So I said that in general cases, the lam letter is a light one. So you can see here as well that on the previous letter there is a dhamma and the lam has a fatha, and we are just saying hulla, la sound. We're not saying hullah, right? So that just happens on the 2 letters of Allah and Allahumma, and that too with conditions. So here we are keeping this light, right? So hulla, hulladina. The next letter is a dal letter, which is a soft letter. Tip of the tongue touches the tip of our upper teeth, and we say the. Stretching here because of yamada here. وجوه الذين وجوه الذين كفروا. Kaf letter here. This is a light letter, and for this letter again, back part of the tongue, it touches the soft as well as hard palate, and we say ka, kafaru, kafaru, right? So, fa letter is repeating again and again. After that, there's letter ra here, and here ra letter has a dhamma on it, so we will make it heavy, full mouth here, okay? And we say ru, ru, and I'm stretching the sound again here for 2 counts because after a ra there is a waw madda. Kafaru, waqila, waqila, right? Waw letter again, shaping lips round. Then there's qaf letter, which is a heavy one. For this back part of the tongue, it touches the soft palate with strength, and we say qila, waqila. Again, stretching the sound of qi for 2 counts because of ya madda here. وقيل وقيل هذا الذي. Okay, here on the ha letter there is the standing straight line, so we'll stretch this sound for 2 counts again. هذا الذي. Okay, so the letter here, the soft the light the letter, the الذي. I'm again joining the sound of this the letter with lam letter, right? Why? Because lam has a tashdid on it. So we join this with the previous letter and say the la. Okay, again here, I'm keeping the lam letter right, light as well, right? Just like I did here. Because lam letter is light in most of the cases, so we say هذا la, هذا الذي كنتم به. Kaf letter, light one. Kuntum, kuntum. And this word, you see a noon sakin here. So yes, we will have to remember the rules of noon sakin and tanween. After noon sakin here, we see the next letter, which is ta letter here, right? So again, we apply the same rule that we applied here, which is called the rule of ikhfa, right? So ikhfa means hiding, that we will hide the sound of the noon here. Why? Because ta letter is after noon here, right? Noon sakin here. So we say kuntum, right? We do ikhfa, for ikhfa as well, we kind of, make a nasal sound as well. So we say kuntum. I'm not saying kuntum. I'm saying kuntum. Okay, so here at the end you see a meme sakin. So for this we'll have to look at the rules of meme sakin, which says that whenever after meme sakin comes letter ba, so we do the ikhfa, the hiding of meme here, right? This ikhfa is of the meme sakin rule. The previous ikhfa was of the noon sakin and tanween rules. So ikhfa here means again hiding. Earlier we hide, we concealed the voice of the letter noon, and we say ku. Here we will hide the meme sound, right? And we will say tum bihi. I'm not saying tum. I'm saying tum bihi. I'm hiding the sound of meme here, and here I'm hiding the sound of noon. So just repeat this word again and say kuntum bihi. After here, the next letter is ba letter, B sound, be he. Stretching the he sound again for 2 counts because it has, this standing straight line below here. He, be he, tad'oon, tad'oon. This ta letter is again light ta, right? So tip of the tongue touches the back of our upper teeth and we say ta. Tad'oon. Okay, so dal letter, this is a light dal letter, tip of the tongue touches the back of our upper teeth, and we say da, 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 tad'oon. Ain letter from the middle portion of our throat, oon. So, this letter comes from the middle portion, and again, I say this that for now, if you are very beginner, you can, try to differentiate this o sound at least with, hamza. You will not say the hamza here. Ooh, this is not ooh here, right? So if you are avoiding the ooh here and trying to make the sound of ooh from the throat, that is how you will have to make the effort. Ooh, tad'una, Una. I'm stretching u here for 2 counts again because we see a vowel madda here. Una. Okay, so we have already, extend over with the time. Um, so I think, we should just leave it here and
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You can carry on with the next start as well if you want to, because I have no problem with the timing.
okay, ma'am. I just, complete this inshallah quickly. So قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ. So again, this next ayah is starting from the letter which is a heavy one, Qaf letter here, back part of the tongue. It is, it touches the soft palate with strength. Qul, qul. So, I'm joining the sound with the next letter of lam because it has a sakin on it. قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ, أَرَأَيْتُمْ. Okay, so in this word, أَرَأَيْتُمْ, first sound is of letter Hamza. After that, raw letter, it has a fatha on it. So we will keep this raw heavy. A raw, raw. I'm not saying ara, ara. This is not a empty mouth sound. Okay, we say raw rather than ra, raw, ra. I hope you can hear the difference. Ara'aytum, Aitum. So yes, this Hamza, the sounds that are simple sounds, I will not be, repeating the sounds here. This letter Ya is here, so I'll have to mention the articulation, middle portion of the tongue. It is raised towards the palate, and we say this Ya sound, right? Aitum, ara'aytum in ahlakani Allah. So the next word is in. In this word, you see a nun sakin here, but after nun sakin, you see a letter of throat, which is a hamza from the 6 letters of throat, right? So you see a hamza, and that is why we are, keeping the sound of this nun sakin as it is. We are not applying any other, rule of ikhfa or anything. Why? Because we have a hamza after it. So we just say in ahlakani, ahlakani. Okay, so here after Hamza, we have a Ha with a sakin on it, right? Ha letter with a sakin on top of it. So for, whenever Ha comes with a sakin on it, we have to, put again some effort to make, to articulate this. We say, lakani, right? Otherwise, you will not be able to hear the letter Ha. Lakani. Okay, lam letter, the light lam letter, here. So tip of the tongue, it touches the hard palate. La. Ahlakaniya. Calf letter next, light calf letter, back part of the tongue, touches the soft as well as hard palate. Ka. Laka. Lakaniya. Niya. Noon letter after it, ni with a kasra. Ni. Ya. Yeah, as I mentioned, the articulation of ya here as well. Middle portion of the tongue is raised towards the palate. Yeah. For this letter, you are, not supposed to make the j sound. You are not supposed to join your teeth together. Rather, I have mentioned that the middle portion of the tongue is raised towards the palate. We do not say j, we say ya, ya. I hope you can hear the difference. You can hear it once more, j or ya. The second way is correct, okay? The teeth should not come so close, but rather the middle portion of the tongue should be working, or it should be raised towards the palate. Ahlaka niya, niyallahu. Okay, so we see an Allah's word here, and we did the rules of making lam heavy or light as well. So here before the lam of Allah, we see a fatha on ya letter. So we are saying yallahu. Ahlakani Allahu. The sound of lam letter here is a heavy one, which is like law, Allah, right? So my mouth is full when I say Yallahu. Okay. Ahlakani Allahu wa man ma'iya. The next letter is waw letter, wa man ma'iya. Okay, so here again, you see a noon sakin in the word of man. After this noon sakin, there is again letter meme. So whenever after noon sakin or tanween comes letter meme, we see the rule is idgham rule, which is like we assimilate the sound, we enter the sound of noon, sorry, the letter before the noon into the letter that comes after noon. So we are doing the idgham of meme into meme, the joining of meme letter into meme, and this happens with gunna as well, which means that I'm saying wa mam meme with meme, and I'm staying for a bit and making a nasal sound. Wa mam ma'iya, wa mam ma'iya, right? So the next letter is ayn letter that comes from the portion of the throat that is the middle one, right? I. وَمَن مَّعِيَ عي sound عي, right? So again, you know the rule for now, inshallah. You should be knowing the articulation point that the muscles constrict and you then push the air as well, the sound as well. So but again, you will have to just remember the sound and practice it. That is how you will get to articulate this عي. معي معي, again ya letter at the end, right? معي ومن معي أو رحمنا. So أو here, Hamza joining that with the wow letter and then shaping your lips round as well here. أو رحمنا. There's a raw letter with a fatha on top of it, so we will make this heavy and say raw. رحمنا. The ha letter is the next one, which comes from the same point from where the ain letter comes. They both come from the middle portion of our throat. This ha letter has a lot more air in this, and we say he. When we are articulating this letter, first we push the air out of our throat, and then we try to, articulate the sound of this ha letter. So, right, for example, just hear to me. First, you will hear the first you will hear the air coming out of my mouth, and then you will hear the sound when I say he, he, right? The first air, then the sound. Rahimana, rahimana. Okay, so meme letter here, simple sound ma and na. I'm stretching the sound of na here for 2 counts again. Why? Because there is a alif mada after it. Rahimana. فمن يجير الكافرين. Fa letter, tip of the upper teeth, it touches the lower lips and air is removed. Fa, famam. Okay, so here, man here, you see a noon sakin here, right? And after the noon sakin, you see a letter ya here. So this is the same rule that we applied here, which is the idgham rule with gunna type of it. Idgham with gunna, joining with gunna. What are we joining? We are joining the letter that comes before noon sakin and the letter that comes after it together. We are assimilating their sounds and saying my, right? So the sound of the noon sakin is kind of skipped, but the nasal of this letter remains. When we say فَمَن يُجِيرُ, we will not quickly move from فَمَن يُجِيرُ. Rather, we will stay here on the ya letter as well and make this nasal sound. فَمَن يُجِيرُ, فَمَن يُجِيرُ. Right? So this Jim letter here, G, G, stretching again because of ya madda here. Mad again means stretching. So I'll stretch here for 2 counts. Jiru. Okay, so raw letter has a dhamma here, and I'm joining this sound with the next letter of lam because lam has a sakin on it. Rul. Yujirul kafirina. The next letter is the light calf letter with a standing straight line on it. So we will say this sound for 2 counts. Ka. I'm not saying ka, right? So this is a bit extended sound for 2 counts. Kafirina. Here the raw letter has a kasra below it. So we will keep this light and empty mouth sound when we say ri. Rina. Extending again because of ya madda here. So we say yujirul kafirina min adhabin alim. Okay, so here you see a noon sakin, and after noon sakin, we see an ayn letter, which is from the 6 letters of throat. So that is why we will keep this as it is. Okay, we'll not do anything to it. So we say min adhabin, adhabin. Ayn letter from the middle portion of the throat, zal letter, the soft zal, and bin sound. Min azabin. Below the ba letter, you see kasratain here, the tanween here, and after this tanween, the letter is hamza here. So, this again is a letter of throat, so that is why we will just say the bin as it is. Azabin. So this is the same rule as this one, right? Which is the izhar rules. Izhar means expressing the sound of noon here. Min azabin, keeping this tanween as it is. Azabin alim, alim. In this word, there is again ya madda here, so I'm stretching li, alim. At the end, you see a kasratain, like the tanween of kasras, but we are changing that with the sakin because we did the rules of waqf as well. Alim rather than alimin. Okay, so that is it for the lesson, and Jazakallah, ma'am as well, for sparing so much time and giving time from her class as well. Jazakallah khairan, ma'am.
Jazakallah khair to you as well. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Am I the host now?
yes, ma'am. I'm making you, inshallah.
Jazakallah, madam.
وإياك, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, sisters, I hope that you're all doing well. And I wish and pray that Allah keep you all safe and secure. We look into the word-to-word meaning of the ayat done by Ambreen for you. And the ayat for today are 27 and 28. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We look at the word for word meaning first of all. Fa actually is a connective letter. Fa like va. It means so. But here it is translated as then. Fa, lamma. Lamma is a question word meaning when. So when ra'ahu, they saw. And according to our division of time, as all these things have yet to take place, so we'll translate it in future. But here you can see that they are translated in the past tense because in Allah's concept of time, these things are already happened, as I keep on mentioning this thing again and again. Ra'ahu word is basically from the root letters Ra, Hamza, and Ya. So when they will see Zulfatan approaching, something approaching, close, near, getting, closer to them. And Zulfatan word is from the root letters Zalam and Fa. See something really ugly, something really unpleasant, something horrifying. And what this is, the word see is from Sin, Waw, and Hamza, and it actually is the Jahannam, the hell. Because in the previous ayat, you have seen them saying, Mata hazal wadu. When your promise or your threat of resurrection or husher or, thrown into the fire, when it will take place and when the time for that come, as we discussed it yesterday as well, they were asking for the exact time of the last hour to approach. And when they would see all these things that are basically related with the al-ghaib, knowledge of the unseen, and physically these things taking place in front of them, they would have a deep impact on them, and they would make their faces look bad or grieve or signs of something that you have while looking or confronting something unpleasant or ugly or horrible. So such signs will appear on their faces as they are horrified to see something. Wujuhun is faces. Si'at wujuhu put together means that their faces will become dark. Their faces will show as if they're confronting something horrifying. Allazina, and the case will happen with those. Allazina is the plural of allazi. Their faces. Wujuhun is from waw, jim, and ha, the root letters. Kafaru, those people who disbelieved, who denied the truth, their faces will show signs of horror, the darkness of grief, and the fear of approaching hellfire and punishment will just turn their faces into something, which will show complete disappointment and hopelessness. Waqila, wa is again a conjunctive word. Kila was said means it will be said to them. Haza, this, allazi is the thing. This is the thing which kuntum you were. Bihi with it taddaun. This is the thing basically that you were demanding, you were making dua for. The word dua also is from this same root, dal, ain, and waw. You were asking. Allah says in the Quran that they are asking for the hour to establish. They are asking for the punishment to come, as some sane person should have asked for some favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for some blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this actually is the extreme foolishness of these people. So Allah would say to them that this is what, look at, this is what you were demanding for, and it is right in front of you now. Qul, Allah says to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu that, O Muhammad Sallallahu, you say to these people, Ara aitum, have you seen? It is translated in past tense. Did you also considered or have you seen in if ahlakani, ha lam and kaf, halaka means to damage something, to cause something or someone to die. In ahlakani Allahu, if Allah destroys me or if Allah causes death to me, waman and those who ma'iya are with me means my followers or my companions. Aw rahimana, or Allah shows mercy. Rahima is from raham, mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means Allah is capable of destroying, causing us to die, or Allah can show mercy. Both things are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He can let us live longer. Whatever case Allah does with us, فَمَنْ يُجِيرُ الْكَافِرِينَ, then man who yujirul will protect, save you, al-kafirin, the disbelievers. Min azabin alim, from the tormenting punishment. Alim means very painful. So even if Allah causes us to die or Allah keeps us living and gives us a chance to live more, what difference is it going to make on you? You have to account for your sins. Now look at the metaphoric meaning and then a bit of translation of these two ayahs. But when they shall see it close at hand, means the punishment, the hell, the fire just in front of them, the faces of the disbeliever will turn black because of the disappointment, because of the gloom, because of that horrifying punishment that is just, waiting for them. And it will be said to them, this is what you were calling for. You were not taking the warning seriously and you were calling for this thing. You were demanding this thing. And Allah says to Prophet Muhammad to further say to these people, the dwellers of the hellfire, to be, Have you ever considered that even if Allah destroys me, Allah kills me or destroys me as well as those with me, or bestows His mercy on us, means Allah is capable of punishing even His Prophet as well. Allah is capable of punishing even the companions of the Prophet as well. If Allah shows mercy or Allah destroys us, who will save the disbelievers from a painful punishment? What effect does it have on you, or what benefit you are going to get from our death? Basically the mushrikeen of Makkah, the lords of Makkah, were wishing and they were praying and they were cursing Prophet Muhammad that he should die, and this problem of Islam, which Islam was basically a problem for them, should be solved once and for all. So this ayat says that فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً سِيئَتْ وُجُوهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, that their countenance, their facial expressions will change. The color will change, and the dark shades of gloom will appear, and they would cover their faces because of the punishment approaching to them. And this is because of their kufr, allazina kafar, it is because of their kufr that the cheerfulness of the faces will change into something horror, and their faces will appear to be horror stricken. And the reason is because at the first place they showed kufr, and second they ignored the warnings of Nazir. You have seen in the previous verses that when the caretaker angels of hellfire asked them that didn't you receive a Nazir, they admitted that yes, we had a Nazir, a warner in the form of a prophet. We just ignored, but we just ignored his warning, and we didn't take the warnings very seriously. So in the previous ayat, they were asking Mata Hazal Vadu, and when that Vada, that promise is fulfilled, their countenance changes. And they admit that yes, they ignored the warning, and this is the consequence of ignoring the warnings. Ignoring the warnings actually is a very common thing. Even in the worldly matters, sometimes people are warned of the approaching flood, maybe sometimes, or the possible landsliding, etc., or any other disaster, and they are advised by the local government to take, precautionary measures or move to the safer places. Sometimes people do comply with, and sometimes they simply ignore. And what is the result? That when that disaster strikes them, they are badly affected by it. And no one else is to be blamed for that damage or for that destruction or harm coming to them. They themselves, because they were careless, they were forgetful towards the warning that were issued to them. So that same thing exactly is going to happen with these allazina kafaru, and whose complete actually critical character analysis we have made already. And this ayat verse actually invites us to look at ourselves as well. That how do we take the warnings mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith? Because sometimes warnings are there, but we still keep doing what we are just for the love of that thing, just for the pleasure that we derive from doing that thing. Just take the example of backbiting, for example. We can't just leave such practices, even though we know that the consequences are really unbearable for us. So it's not only the case going to be with the people allazina kafaru, but there's a very serious warning for all of us as well. And we should also take the lesson from these verses. And next, Kul ara'aytum ahlakani Allahu wa man ma'iya aw rahimana. Prophet is saying to his enemies, or the enemies of Allah, or the enemies of Islam, that look, Allah has the complete authority over me. He can cause death to me and my companions, or he may show, mercy on us as well. Whatever is the case going to be with us, will you affect you in any way? No, not at all. You have to account for your misdeeds, your sins and crime. The word ahlakani is very important here. It is from the root letters ha, lam and kaf. Halaka means damage or destruction of something or the death of someone. In Arabic, they say that halaka malahu, he destroyed his wealth, means he spent his money or his wealth in wasteful things. And he didn't get any, benefit from all that wealth or money he was given. And, very soon you are going to read after Al Mulk Surah, in the next Surah. Allah says, a disbeliever would say, Halaka anni sultaniya, that my authority is destroyed. I am deprived of my authority. The authority is just a worldly thing. It's not permanent. But when someone is in a position, he enjoys, authority over some other people, mostly we have seen that people make a misuse of that thing. And after allowing that authority for some time, Allah just takes it back because Allah has tested the person, what use he makes of this authority or power or influence that Allah had given him, preference Allah had given him over others. And similarly, the word halaka is used for death, death of a human being. So Prophet means to say Allah can cause death to us, or he can show rahimana, means he can show mercy on us. He can give you, some more lease of life to live. So you shouldn't, worry about us. You should be more worried about you. Faman yujirul kafirina, faman yujirul kafirina. Who is going to protect? Yujir is from Jor. Jor is then further, constructed into Jar. Jar means a neighbor. And in Islamic etiquettes, neighbors are supposed to protect each other. So Prophet says that instead of worrying about ourselves, you have to be more concerned with yourselves and your practices. Because lords of Mecca, they wish that Muhammad should die, and they believe that with the death of Muhammad the problem will be solved. And they were really very foolish into thinking like that. And such type of attitude or psychology is really very common in our lives as well. Sometimes we start blaming someone for the problems of our life, and we start cursing people even. And as a result of our curse, even if someone dies and the problems of life still remain there, it shows that the problem was not created by that person whom we were cursing. The problem was something lying within ourselves. And we needed to look into ourselves. And it's a very foolish approach. But it happens very commonly. It's something really very common, especially in our relationships. You may confront such people maybe in your own family, in your own household, at your job, in your social circles. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically is, hinting towards this foolish approach of some people, especially the kafirin as mentioned here. So Prophet says that who is going to protect you from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So this is what I could, explain regarding these two verses today. And there are two more left, inshallah, that we'll be doing tomorrow. And this is over for today.